Hello, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie, and I'm here with my husband Jim and my dog Maggie and my dog Sadie in the background. And we are here to talk about artificial intelligence. It is Tuesday evening. Got back on Monday evening, and I had not gotten a lot of sleep because I spent the
brain
weekend
dead and giggly and just everything you're not normally.
So I use an Aura ring, and my sleep score usually is in the 80s, maybe low 90s, and I have like a 60 every night. And you know what? I held the grandbaby until about 2:30 in the morning, 2 nights in a row, so that Rachel could get some sleep, and it was worth it.
I took care of the dogs and the cat.
That's good. Hey, and we took my mom and dad down, and they got to meet the grandbaby, their first great grandchild, very first time. So we had a great weekend. And we hope that everybody out there had a great weekend too. Now let's talk about artificial intelligence. What I'd like to talk about, first of all, is a couple of things that have hit the news about AI.
Let's back up for a second.
Oh, we're going to back up.
What we're going to back up to is how we got here.
How did we get here?
We got here because, ironically, I was having a discussion with an AI.
Really?
I know, shocking.
You never do that, Jim.
It's shocking.
Ever.
I know. And the information that came out of it, I thought was interesting because I woke up thinking about it, because everybody wakes up thinking about how to argue with an AI.
Always.
And so the first thing I wanted to do, of course, was just dig right into it. But then you said, hey, you know what? We've got to do some news stories.
Yes.
So we're going to be going back and forth. You're going to see me leaning over a lot. We're going to go back and forth.
When you first told me, it's like, hey, let's talk about this on the podcast. And I was like, all right, yeah, that sounds great. But we need to pull in some news articles as to why we're talking about it. So the first news article comes from theverge.com, and it was August the 18th, which was literally what? Yesterday. Grammarly is announcing, or has said, that it has an AI agent.
9 of them.
9 different AI agents that can predict an A paper.
That was the headline. Grammarly says its AI agent can predict an A paper.
So what this is basically, it's kind of like what the gentleman we had on from Copy Leaks, and he was going on about how they're going to try to start being a little more consultative, like a consultative AI when students or someone is using their product to write. Now, Grammarly is saying that they're doing the same thing using 9 different agents. And so now a student can start writing a paper in Grammarly. I use Grammarly all the time.
Yeah,
if Grammarly would like to sponsor one of our podcasts, that'd be great.
Checking your grammar.
I use it all the time, and it really annoys you because it underlines
they're not going to want us to sponsor because I don't like their product very much.
I do. I love I've been using it for a long time. Both of our kids have used it for years. Our oldest one even uses it too. So all 3 of our kids use it. But basically, it's while the student is writing, it's going to let the student know, hey, you're looking good. Hey, this is probably going to be an A paper. Now, how's it going to do that? I have a prediction. I think that what they have done is they've basically said, you feed in the rubric, because when I got my master's degree and I had to do a lot of writing to get a master's degree, I would take the rubric, even when I got my bachelor's degree, take the rubric, and I would literally write the paper, and I would go back and I would check, go through and make sure I did everything I was supposed to do.
Of course.
Always got me on the APA formatting, always. But you know what? I graduated with a 3.95 because that very last class, I was like, a B is okay. All right. The kid's going to take the rubric, they're going to put it into Grammarly, they're going to start writing the paper, and Grammarly is going to continually go back to the rubric and say, so far, so good.
They're going to make adjustments on the fly, and the kids are going to game the system just like they do now. You saw it the other day. If a kid knows that it's going to keep trying to help them find the answer, they just keep guessing, and they're better at remembering the answer they got wrong than they are about learning the material.
Absolutely.
And they just keep rotating through it
until it says,
"Da-da, you got it." And this is exactly what's going to happen here, unless they put some kind of limitations on it. I can tell you that I saw every single comment I read, that people that commented on this article hated it. And the one I liked the best was the teacher that said, oh, great. So now the parent's going to show up with yet another reason why they disagree with the grade I gave their kid, because the AI said they should have gotten an A and I gave them a C.
Oh.
And that's going to be a fun argument.
That's going to be a really fun conversation.
So
yeah,
I think, I mean, on the surface, they're saying that these are partners.
Okay.
But I'm not agreeing with
What's
that.
the flip side of that article, which I thought was really funny, because the flip side of the article talks about how it's also going to be like an agent or multiple agents for plagiarism checking.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here going, all right, Grammarly.
Bullets and bandages.
Or, yeah, exactly. It's like, are you helping the kid write the paper using an AI and then also helping the teacher catch the kid using an AI? It's like, I guess you're trying to figure out exactly what side of your bread is being buttered.
It's bullets and bandages. Like, you sell the bullets and the bandages.
All right.
And what's going to be really interesting about that is maybe Grammarly's going to make it to where if you use their tool, the plagiarism checker passes you.
That would not be good.
So anyway, I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I don't think this is. I think this idea sounds good in theory, but I think the reality is English teachers are going to hate it, which leads us to the next article.
Okay.
Which is in techlearning.com. It was the 13th of this month, so it's also very recent. I liked the headlines. What caught my attention?
AI versus the English department.
And that is exactly how most English teachers I've talked to perceive it.
Yes.
Is AI versus the English department.
And it really is. I mean, and they're like, I think it's because AI is so language focused, because it is a large language model. Yes. So the very first thing that started happening with large language models is you started having it like have a conversation with you, write a paragraph, tell a joke. It's not the first thing the kids did. True. The kids probably did it.
The kids learned. I mean, I am not. I like English teachers and I like what they should be doing. What I don't like is I had some really bad experiences with it. Whenever I was in junior high, I had a teacher, Miss Nolan. I love Miss Nolan. Miss Nolan was like a hippie kind of type. I mean, she was such a nice lady. She was a strict teacher, but a nice lady.
Okay.
I mean, you put a snake in her desk drawer, she didn't get upset, but you're still going to the office.
Got it.
Anyway.
I think there's a story in there somewhere.
Anyway, she told me, I love the way you write. Your thoughts flow and everything else. And I left her class in the 7th or 8th grade thinking I was a good writer. Because she said your grammar's terrible, but you can learn that over time.
Still is.
But the time I got out of high school.
Maybe you need to use Grammarly.
Maybe. Their AI can help me. But the time I got out of high school and college, I hated writing. Every teacher I had from then on beat me to death on the details. They didn't care if my writing flowed. They didn't care if my thoughts were good. I never got graded on that. I got graded on, well, back then, penmanship. 10 points off every time I did something for bad penmanship because my writing I didn't write very legibly.
Yeah.
I got, my formatting wasn't right on my APA. It wasn't APA we were using. I don't know what it was, but it was always something that got nitpicked to death. And I also don't want to write a paper analyzing a poem. I just don't.
But you have to.
But that's the point. That's all I had to do.
Right.
And so I have a very difficult time having a lot of sympathy for this idea that AI is ruining it. I think it was ruined before AI came along. I think now's the time they can have the conversation about, okay, we had gone down a path a little too far with thinking writing was the only way we can do things. Now let's back up a little bit and let's reevaluate it, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute.
So let's talk about that.
Well, hold on. I want your opinion. I was just kind of, you don't have a STEM degree. You have a STEM background, but you don't have a STEM degree.
No, I do not.
And so you've written more than I have, and you write even now.
A lot.
So.
And I love to write. And
you're good
at it. I love to write. I always have. I can remember sitting down as, a 12-year-old and starting my first novel, and read. Oh my God, I still do. I read.
I love to read.
All the time.
I do too.
And I remember being in college and getting that degree and being nitpicked also. And just like, oh my God, I'm getting points taken off because I didn't italicize something in the citations page, or oh my goodness, I forgot to put a semicolon instead. Those kind of things that you're right, nitpicked to death. By the time I was probably 50 college hours in, I learned to just give them what they wanted.
And if you'd had an AI tool, you probably would have used it because you got tired of being picked to death. So all of this started because of this study they did about critical thinking.
About how AI is taking it.
Well, there was
an MIT study, right?
It was even the people that did this study said it was a very small number of people. It wasn't a well-controlled study. It was just interesting. Now, of course, they released it because they wanted a lot of attention for it. But basically, are we going to take that toy away?
Sadie's having fun.
She is having fun. Basically, they said they took 3 people and they were doing like an EEG on them. And they said the ones that wrote on their own had more brain activity than the ones who used Google, and they both had more brain activity than the ones that used AI. Well, that's no kidding. And oh, by the way, another news flash: if I'm lifting weights, I use muscles, and if I'm sitting there doing nothing, I don't.
Right. I mean, because you're physically using a pen and you're writing down, and you have to think about every single word that you're writing.
That doesn't. But so the thing is that bothered me about all of this is this narrowly defined definition of critical thinking. It's all about if your critical thinking skills are measured in that's where the conversation with AI started. So now we can move into the rest of the information as to
the conversation that you had with AI.
It was an AI conversation. It was every time we come up here, she just loves that toy.
That's okay.
It's a squeak toy. So how do you define critical thinking? First thing I did was
the first thing I want to know is what people are going to say about critical thinking. That we've heard from a lot of administrators. Mm-hmm. You'll know it when you see it.
Yeah.
I hate it when people do that. When they say, well, you'll know it when you see it. No, I might not know it when I see it. And what I define as critical thinking might not be what the teacher across the hall defines as critical thinking. So the actual definition that you came up with and you agreed is that
I didn't just use an AI to give me the definition. Okay. I actually looked it up too. So.
Okay. Looked it up on Google. Yeah, exactly.
What was I supposed to go find? We've got
an old Webster's dictionary. I doubt critical thinking's in the Webster's dictionary. I don't know. Maybe we need to look it up. It's a deliberate process of analyzing, evaluating, and synthesizing information, okay, in order to form reasoned judgments, make decisions, and solve problems objectively and logically. First thing I think about whenever I think about critical thinking is when I was teaching 4th grade science.
Okay.
4th grade science, we had a really great unit about, hypothesizing and then doing an experiment and trying to figure out if we were right or wrong with our hypothesis. So to me, seeing the kids do the experiment and disprove or prove what they were guessing was going to happen was getting from point A to point B, and it was critical thinking.
So here's 2 views of the world that I have personal experience in. If I write up an experiment and it's graded by a non-STEM person, they're going to grade that experiment based on whether or not they think I wrote it up well.
Right.
And
because they don't know enough about
the STEM person's going to look. The STEM person's going to look at that and go, well, you know what? I agree with your conclusion, but your data's a little weak here and here. But overall, this is good. So do I not have critical thinking skills if I have poor grammar when I wrote it up? Does that mean I don't? How are you measuring it? And that's, at the end of the day, that's what writing has become. It's become the default way of saying you have critical thinking skills. We're going to measure them because you can write well. The question is whether or not that can stand up in the world that
we're in now. And
I am not personally responsible for the fact that AI is in the world. If I was,
you'd be really rich.
We'd be really rich.
Would not be sitting here doing this podcast. That
no,
is for sure.
Well, we might be. We wouldn't be sitting here doing this podcast.
But I agree with you. I 100% agree with you that writing has become the litmus test.
Litmus test. It's litmus.
Thank you. Sometimes I just can't say those words.
I know. It's that East Texas.
But it has. It's become the standard. It's become the measuring tool.
That's because you can mass produce it. It's an assembly line. It's a workflow that's measurable. What happens, in the teacher's defense, what happens, I have 27 kids in a classroom and I'm going to measure their critical thinking. How else am I going to do it? Am I going to have anyway. The point is it's difficult to find another methodology for measuring it, but at the same time, do we have a choice?
Okay.
So I gave you a little bit more information because I kind of threw a lot at you, in terms of this stuff. So I think that what AI is doing is it's going to change the way we measure critical thinking. It has to.
It needs to.
It has to.
It needs to. I mean, I know you say it has to, but
unless you think AI is going to disappear.
There's so many people in the education field that want to just 100% ignore it.
And you know what, folks? I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't see how.
I was listening to a podcast, and I can't think of the guy. I listen to this podcast all the flipping time, and I forget his name.
It's the AI Daily Brief.
It's the AI Daily Brief.
His first name is Nate.
No, Nate is the one that does the YouTube channel. There's only two. There's one YouTube channel I always listen to, and there's one.
Okay, so it is the AI Daily Brief.
The AI Daily Brief. And he mentioned something when I was listening to it today I liked. There's two different when you go to college, there's two competing things that you're doing when you're talking about getting a degree. One of them is this process, which has been liberal arts colleges have talked about for a long time. I'm teaching you the humanities. I'm teaching you how to, what it is to be a human, how to learn, how to think, all that other stuff. That's great. And then there's economic viability. The problem is, if you're poor like I was when you went to college, you're really focused on economic viability.
Well, otherwise,
when I was taking
why go?
When I was taking my law and literature and all these other classes I was required to take, my thought process wasn't, you know what, I'm going to learn to be a better person. Maybe it should have been. My thought process was, I really got to get this paper done because I've got 3 labs that I got to do before tomorrow. And you don't sit down and write a lab up real quick. You have to do the lab, or you have to write the code, or you have to build the circuit, and it took a lot of time.
Right.
And
you saw everything else as busy work.
Everything was busy work to me. And you know what? That's the way it was in the STEM departments. They did not view the time, I've got a really long paper due tomorrow, can we delay? They don't care.
No.
So the economic viability piece, you used to could separate those two and it maybe didn't matter. But now when the minimum price of college is $50,000 or $80,000 or whatever it is to go to college, when you look at the cost of college, you can't, unless you're wealthy, you cannot avoid the economic viability piece.
Thinking about how are you going to make a living with this degree? I'm putting a certain amount of money into this. How am I going to get back the return on my investment?
And when you're going to go interview for one of the FANG companies, as I call them, Facebook and Google and those kind of people, when you're going to interview with those kind of people, they're going to look at your grade point average and they don't care how well you did. They say that they're interested in your critical thinking skills, but they're measuring it based on other factors, the classes that you took, things like that. Right. So anyway,
I need to say something real quick.
Go for it.
It hit me the other day. Rachel and I were doing a grocery order, a curbside, and she got the curbside back, and she was like, "This is a little more expensive than it was last time." And so she started kind of looking at her receipt. She had gotten a thing of Parmesan cheese that was like just a regular container of Parmesan cheese. And it cost her $9.67 for a thing of Parmesan cheese.
Is that economic viability problem?
When she told me that, I was like, my goodness. And so she looked at her last receipt, and the last time she'd gotten it, it was like $7. So it had gone up $2.70 something in like a month.
How's this connected to critical thinking?
I looked at her. Well, it's not the critical thinking. It's the economic viability. Yeah. Rachel has a college degree
in computer science.
We have a future daughter-in-law who has a college degree in
theater.
Rachel makes good money with her CS degree.
And
she could probably make better than what she's currently making, but she still makes really good money.
Yes.
The one with the theater degree makes half of what Rachel makes.
And what is she doing?
If you look at the hourly rate, and I made this comment to Rachel, I was like, if I am working at a Taco Bell or something like that, I had to work probably a little less than an hour of my salary bought a container of Parmesan cheese.
Okay, we're getting too far off into.
I'm sorry, but it's when you gotta look. You do have to look at the economic viability of what your degree is.
So we're going back to critical thinking again.
Okay,
and we're going back to writing, which is what we were starting to talk about, and you
I got way off because
Parmesan cheese.
People don't put it in perspective. The rich people, the people who are able to get those degrees without even thinking about their return on their investment, they forget to put it in perspective based on an hourly wage.
I'm going to pull you back again. You're still going down Parmesan. Okay, now, I'm sorry you paid too much for Parmesan cheese. Let's move on. So the bottom line with all the research that I was doing and the other stuff that was, right now when you're writing and you're saying writing is the way we learn critical thinking, it's the most important thing in the world. We can't use AI to cheat. But we've productized this idea. An essay is an output, a polished report. These are products.
Yeah, they are.
And the problem is when you have AI in the world, it's easier to make those products without putting a lot of thought into them.
Make the products look pretty.
So what do you do? Well, we're moving, I think, because you and I have talked about this a lot, we're moving toward a more of a process-oriented view of learning to write, learning critical thinking skills, all that other stuff. What is the process you got here with? And you and I have talked about almost the first presentation we did when the large language models hit the scene, we talked about what do you do in a world where AI exists? And now it's even more important because the AIs have gotten even better. They're 100 times better than they were when we started 3 years ago. So when you start talking about the process, that's the shift. And that's the one people are having a hard time adapting to. So the most common answer is let's just hit it with a hammer. And the way we hit it with a hammer is we've seen this over and over again. I'm just going to make them handwrite it. Okay.
First of all, I can't read the handwriting.
That was what I was going to say. Because I asked you this the other day. Do they still teach handwriting in elementary school? And the answer you gave me was, I don't think so.
I taught ball and stick when I taught kindergarten, and that was just print.
You taught fourth grade. Were you doing handwriting in fourth grade? Because when I was in fourth grade, we were doing handwriting.
I remember maybe doing some of the cursive stuff, but it wasn't part of my everyday lessons.
Remember the big chief tablet?
Yes, I remember.
It had all the letters at the bottom you're practicing, and you had to practice and compare yourself to the little big chief tablet.
Yeah.
So the point was that your point is you're going to have them handwrite it. 120 essays. We're talking about teachers who have 50 times more responsibility than they did teachers when I was there were teachers. They were hall monitors somewhat too, but they didn't have half of their class having 504s that they had to make special accommodations for. They didn't have statewide testing that they had to be focused on. They didn't have, so them teaching handwriting, I think you said this in one of our previous podcasts, they can't add anything else. They've got too many things already. Something's got to fall off the end. Yeah. Which thing am I not going to teach? Right. Well, handwriting. So your first thing is, I'm going to make them handwrite it. Your comment is, they're not going to be able to read it. I agree. I also think that using that writing, unless you're like Miss Nolan was, and you view the writing as, are they thinking clearly? If that's your grading policy, bully for you. You're probably one of the teachers that everybody loves. But if you're the teacher that thinks that the way to teach somebody how to cook is to force them to follow the recipes, great, step by step, doesn't matter if what the output tastes decent or not. If you're that tight, then they probably hate your class, and they're going to use some way of cheating. They're going to find a way because they don't want, you're focused on that output product being perfect and not on the process they got there, not on whether or not they're good writers.
Right.
So I think if you make them handwrite it, it narrows the thinking to recall. How many papers have you written that the whole purpose was for you to take a bunch of information and regurgitate it? Oh. Dates, when did this happen? When did that happen? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, ridiculous. And how many of those papers do I remember afterwards? I had to do like a 50-page paper on when they took in special education from state supported and put it into general classrooms. And that 50 pages, I couldn't even tell you the House bill that it was in.
I know, but because it was regurgitating information.
It was regurgitating information based on a rubric. in APA format based on a rubric so I could make an A. The other thing as a counselor I want to point out is that if you do start having your students handwrite these papers, students who were not taught how to write to begin with, so they're going to have terrible handwriting, probably the males more so than the females. They are going to really struggle with, if they are overachievers or if they are wanting to produce a good product and then all of a sudden they're not capable of doing it because they weren't taught how to do it back 10 years ago when they were in elementary.
And suddenly you're going to say,
and all of a sudden you're going to tell them they have to handwrite everything.
Those parents are going to be visiting you, by the way.
That's going to be stressful for those kids.
Well, somebody like Rachel, I mean, Rachel was a straight A student, but Rachel didn't handwrite anything through high school. She typed everything.
And her handwriting, and even as a female, is not perfect.
You can't say female, male. That's like
But
sexist.
It's true. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's one side of the brain versus the other. I don't know what it is. But females typically have better handwriting than males.
I don't know if I can say that in general. I can say it based on personal experience. My personal experience is my handwriting is terrible. Both of my sons' handwriting is terrible. Rachel's is not great, but it's better than my son's. Jared actually has decent handwriting with slow down, but your handwriting is beautiful. Teachers have beautiful handwriting, by the way. When I see teachers write stuff on the board, I'm like, wow, you took a lot of. And these are even the younger ones. Where did they learn that?
I wonder if it has something to do with like their attention spans.
Okay.
I'm thinking of a study.
Let's not go off in the weeds again.
I need to do a little deep research. Need to do a little deep research.
What are some of the things that you can do?
Well, human-centric approach, right? We've talked about it before. You have to have a human-centric approach in your assignments. Mm-hmm. And some of that means...
And what is AI
well,
in that?
It's a source.
Exactly.
It literally is just, where did your source material come from? Mm-hmm. I had a conversation with an AI who just happened to give me these sources that I also cited. Here's my chat that I have with the AI. Mm-hmm. Here's the argument I got into with it because I didn't agree with what it said. I mean... literally following the logic of what the student's doing with an AI. That's part of it. Right.
And you and I both have said from day one, some kind of oral argument, sometimes.
Oral
what I've been trying to do is get them to use the AI. I want to develop a very healthy skepticism in the kids of AI. And the way to do that is to use the AI as an adversarial relationship almost, where it says something and I argue with it.
You can even tell the AI ahead of time, I'm about to write a paper about the Peloponnesian War. I love it. And I need to have 10 points about it that I'm then going to have to defend in front of my class. I mean, you could do a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, I built a table. We're going to run out of time, and I wanted you to see my table.
Okay.
Critical thinking assessment, because that's what this was based on. Critical thinking assessment, old way.
Okay.
Before AI versus new way with AI.
Okay, so the old way, primary evidence of thinking, your essays, your research papers, your written exams. Mm-hmm. Okay. A new way is writing plus oral defense, live problem solving, discussions, project, live presentations.
It's difficult to do in a class with 27 people, but
you know what?
You may not have a choice.
3 minutes each, and you can get it done in 2 days. Teacher focus.
You know why I like that first one, by the way?
Why?
Because so many kids nowadays that I talk to, when I try to communicate, they are unable to articulate.
Yes.
And this has nothing to do with AI.
Yes. That happened to you the other day. You called into a classroom.
And I could have been, I'd have got more out of an AI for the day.
You called into a classroom, a student answered the teacher's desk phone, and you were like, may I speak to this teacher? And the student's like, who? And you were like, your teacher, can you take a note to have her call me?
I don't know.
Huh?
I know, it was great. Anyway, teacher's focus. So old way versus new.
Finished written product, like check for the grammar, check for the structure, check for the argument. That's how we used to do it. Put it up against a rubric.
Maybe a new way.
Reasoning process, how the conclusions are reached, the evidence is evaluated as how, and then you adapted, is shown. Again, grade the chats. Mike Kent's, a guy that we had on our podcast a long time ago, he started this in high school in Florida, and it was a great idea. He graded the chats.
So what skills are the students, you're testing them, the old handwritten ways, whatever you want to call it, organization, argumentation, use of evidence, clarity of expression. Now you're going to have to, again, that was more product oriented, process oriented. Evaluate their sources, even if they are AI, have them justify them, critique them, which is that healthy skepticism thing I talked about. How adaptable are your arguments across different types of content? How adaptable are you across them? Another benefit to this is the public speaking side. You saw this, the change it made in the debate. When you taught debate, debate. Was it debate? Yeah, you taught it in junior high, right?
It wasn't debate. It was
oral reading, oral speaking.
It was speaking.
The difference it made in some of the kids, though, anyway, we're going to run out of time. Strengths of the traditional way, scalable, traditionally, and teachers are familiar.
It's very familiar. Yeah.
Okay, what are the
more authentic? It's more authentic demonstrations of reasoning. It is resilient to AI shortcuts.
Yes.
Because if they have to show it, then they're not going to
shortcut
it and just copy and paste it or
quiz
whatever.
on it.
Better alignment with workplace skills.
That's a big one. There's that in economic viability part.
Yes.
The weaknesses of both, writing has already become a proxy for thinking. I mean, you're regurgitating information. That is not thinking.
Yeah.
But not thinking itself vulnerable to AI substitution, unfortunately. Getting rid of AI is not going to help because it's not going away. The newer way, which is kind of a blend of AI is its weaknesses are it does require you to redo your rubrics. It requires you to retrain your teachers. It requires you more time to assess because you're looking at the process now more than just the product.
And it's less standardized.
Definitely less standardized. It's not going to go well with those standardized testing. All right, last one because we're going to run out of time. We already have run out of time.
Okay.
The underlying assumption, and this is where all the arguments started.
If you can write well, you can think well.
And that is not true.
I agree. I know some people who could sit down and write a paper that is just beautiful and then not tell you hardly anything about what they just wrote.
They learn nothing because they're good at regurgitating material. Because we've done that with the focus on testing, because testing has a very highly structured writing component, and it's graded with a very highly structured rubric. And so the kids are taught how to take the test, how to do the writing component of the test, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the strength?
Well, no.
Or the new paradigm.
The underlying assumption of a hybrid paradigm, a blended paradigm is that thinking is multimodal, which I agree with. Writing is one aspect of it, but I'm a big believer in the speaking part because so much changed for me when I learned to get up in front of people and speak because I wasn't very good at it. Problem solving, how you use the tools, including AI tools. Again, you've switched from product-based, which is
to process-based.
Process-based. And that is, you're going to...
So I know that we're out of time, but we're going to continue for just 1 minute because I want to ask, what is going to be the thing that's going to happen or have to happen for any of this to take place?
I can tell you what's going to happen at the college level.
What?
Colleges are going to lose kids in droves.
I think they already are.
They already are. And part of the reason is that economic viability piece, a lot of the parents are looking at it
damn
going,
thing of Parmesan cheese.
I know. Well, parents are looking at it too, because there is also a very strong, there's a lot of political things about, colleges are brainwashing kids and all this other stuff. So there's a whole group of people who think college is evil anyway. Remember, Rachel got warned.
Yes, she
Watch
did.
out when you go to that University of Texas. You need to be careful. They got liberals down there.
So literally, that's what the person told her.
Yeah, in a restaurant. So anyway, I think that the colleges are going to adapt or die. But I think public education, which is already under attack, and we defend public education all the time, but it's under attack. And unfortunately, public education, while it's under attack, it's also being manned by people that were browbeaten this standardized testing. I mean, they are completely graded on that. And these same people that are trying to kill public education, they're not trying to kill standardized testing. They're only trying to keep it, though, in public schools. They're not trying to keep it in all the private schools, charter schools, all that other stuff. So public education is bleeding people in money because they've got this rigid thing. I think if enough of them, Dennis Hill, former superintendent, said a long time ago that when the big schools start collapsing, under the financial pressures put on, in his case, he was talking about Robin Hood, but this is exacerbating it. that's when people are going to take notice. When you have a school district that's got 15 high schools and
65,000
60, 70,000 students no longer has economically viable. And you can't just say, well, what they're going to start trying to do is throw AI at that. And that's going to make it worse. That's not going to make it better. So
that's for the next podcast. We'll talk about the AI in the classroom that one of the schools is doing here in Texas. That is very interesting.
So anyway, critical thinking, summarizing what we're talking about,
okay.
I think that saying writing is the way to teach critical thinking is too one-dimensional. I think they need to expand the scope. They need to stop focusing on that output product so strictly, which is what I talked about earlier when I talked about how I love to write versus now. I regained my love of writing, but only because you and I write together, because I moved completely to technical writing.
Yes.
And you've kind of pulled me back away from that a little bit. But I think that there's going to have to be a big change. You're not going to be able to fight. There's too much money. It's always the money.
Always follow the money.
Follow the money.
My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Thank you very much for listening in. We hope that y'all have a marvelous rest of the week.